That was an explosive weekend of EFL action, and this, sponsored by Sky Bet and the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund, will break it all down. Let's start with the big one, Middlesbrough against Ipswich. I teased this on the betting show as like, are Borough basically going to hand over the baton? 10 games or so in, the quick starters, and then say to your Ipswiches, your Southamptons, your other big budget teams, it's time for you guys to start establishing yourself as top teams at the level. No, they refused to toe the party line, beating Ipswich by 2-1, a game full of incident, ebbs and flows, both teams having plenty of chances, you have to say. Smodix off the line at 0-0. At the other end, Conway and Hackney bringing out brilliant saves from Alex Palmer. Then a soft penalty won by Leif Davis off of Callum Britton, but saved by Sol Bryn. George Hurst's penalty. You have to look back at that opening night where George Hurst said about scoring penalties, it's just what I do. And you just have to wonder whether that's the sort of line that really comes back to bite you when you don't do it. Borough then took the lead. Good work from Bergzorg, who shrugged off weak defending from Leif Davis. A ball across, and Kipre couldn't sort out his feet. Own goal, 1-0 Borough, 2-0. And a significant goal for Morgan Whittaker of Middlesbrough, who followed in and finished off after a first chance was saved. That was Morgan Whittaker's first goal for Middlesbrough, having joined in January. Joining Borough off the back of lots of lovely goals for Plymouth Argyle at this level. But that was his 43rd shot for Middlesbrough in league football and his first goal for them. And the reaction from his teammates, I think, said quite a lot about how loved he is. And that was really, really touching to see. Dara O'Shea pulled one back, header from a corner, 2-1. You wondered if it would be, big finish from Ipswich. And they didn't have a single shot after that. There was still 15 minutes or so to go. That Borough defensive resolve on show once again. And I think for a Middlesbrough point of view, it's a great response to their first defeat of the season before the international break against Portsmouth. They've moved to a back four in this game, away from the three at the back and wing-back system they've been playing for the most part this season. What can I say off the back of that? Well, they gave up more chances than usual. Maybe not a great surprise, but they definitely created a bit more than usual as well. They did it all without Aidan Morris. Alan Brown started in his place, but Brown and Hackney looked pretty much just as good as Morris and Hackney, and very much in contrast to Ipswich's midfield, which is being highlighted at the moment as a part of their team out of many that just isn't quite clicking at the moment, with Matasiwa and Kajuste not quite doing what, for example, Hackney and Morris or Hackney and Brown are doing for Borough. And I think we just have to say at this point, whatever happens with Borough, wherever they finish, Edwards has got the balance and the tactics pretty spot on. And again, in contrast with his predecessor, Michael Carrick, who we were fans of for a long period of time. I was very much not a fan of Borough's team in the second half of last season. And I think part of it is the attacking personnel that they had then, many of whom they still have. I don't think they are strong individually, or rather as strong individually as other top teams at the level. So Bergzorg and Whittaker deserve credit for their performances here and big contributions, but I don't think they are as consistently strong as other players in attack for other teams in the league. And Carrick's approach was one that basically needed to lean on exceptional attacking players because defensively they were so open, because they were so gung-ho. And clearly that wasn't going to turn them into a top team for the level. We knew that eventually after 2 or 3 seasons. This team, by being defensively good, very good, and having a good sort of team personality, if you like, having a really strong midfield that look after the ball very, very well and progress the ball very, very well, and a team that can play in a mixed style, they are currently a top team, even though, let's be honest, they're not creating loads as a whole. Their XG4 not stand out this season. So I don't want to get carried away. I do want to praise them a lot. Let's not forget that before this game, they won 1 in 5, and there are 36 games to go. So there will probably be more games like the Portsmouth and the Stoke games, where they got 1 point without scoring. But probably more games like this because they are an impressive side, and I'm really enjoying watching this Borough team kind of play for each other and with each other. Really impressive stuff. Ipswich continue to have us kind of scratching our heads, George. Just 3 goals in 4 away games. That doesn't include the Blackburn game, which of course got abandoned. They were 1-0 down with 15 minutes to go. Those goals have been 2 pens and a set-piece header. None of the players really standing out aside from Philogene at the moment for this Ipswich side.
Yeah, it feels like a team who are kind of yet to click, a team full of individuals, but also kind of in some of the games where they're not picking up points, key moments going against them. The latest being that missed penalty from Hurst that you spoke about. When you've got Sammy Smodics on the pitch, who's taken and scored quite a lot of penalties in the Championship for Blackburn, you'd probably think he might be the person to entrust with the responsibility, especially off the back of Hurst having missed a penalty relatively recently, and basically isn't known for his finishing. If George Hurst was a better finisher, he'd be some player given his other attributes. It's been a relatively difficult run of fixtures. Away trips to Bristol City, to Borough here, as you mentioned there. The Blackburn game too. The games, I guess, are looking a little bit easier in terms of having a home game against Charlton on Tuesday night, then Baggies, QPR away, Watford at home. Fewer games, I guess, against teams who have a shout at the moment for being one of the best teams in the league, and that might see an improvement. But I don't know. There's an assumption from everyone, probably myself included, that at some point it's going to click. But I wouldn't say it has as of yet. Like the good moments have been good individual moments, rather than it's just so different to what they were when they were good at this level a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up midweek games. Full slate in the Championship. That will be covered on Under the Lights. That is our paid subscriber only bonus podcast on ntt20.com. We'll be breaking down the big stories from the Championship in midweek, couple of games across League One and League Two as well. I'm looking at that Derby-Norwich game on Tuesday night as massive for both sides. And we'll be breaking all that down. So if you want Monday pod style analysis of midweek games, Under the Lights is where you get that. It is for paid subscribers only over on ntt20.com. The league leaders, George, Coventry, they beat Blackburn by 2-0. They're plus 22 goal difference after 10 games. The best after this amount of games in the second tier since Fulham's plus 23 0001, the Louis Saha years.
Wow. Well, this is the Victor Torp year, because Victor Torp just keeps scoring goals. It's unbelievable, really, what he's doing. 6 goals already this season, playing in a kind of withdrawn. I say that it's a deeper the midfield roles at Coventry, but the way that they play means he's still relatively advanced. His 6 goals so far this season come from 1.5 expected. This was a well struck. A basic clearance from across that fell to him. He actually started the move with a quickly taken free kick and got forward and finished it. He struck it very well, although Balastoth, the Blackburn keeper, it's one of those where it looks quite bad. You then see the reverse angle, you see where Top hit it from, and there are about 3 bodies between him and the keeper and him striking the ball, which probably means that he wasn't able to see it. And then a couple of minutes after that, a very similar goal aesthetically with a cleared ball forward into Thomas Asante this time. His volley, there's nothing that Toth could have done about that, straight into the bottom left-hand corner. And in that sense, it kind of looks like a regulation Coventry outclassing a team at home to nil, but it definitely wasn't, especially in the first half. Blackburn Rovers were definitely the better team and had a few opportunities. Carl Rushworth made a couple of really smart saves in the first half. And there were a few opportunities that Blackburn had. Ahashi had a good one, which they weren't able to convert. And when the goals came from Coventry, they were kind of against the run of play. Should give Efren Mason-Clark his credit for both goals. He won't get an assist for either of them because of the fact that his crosses didn't go directly in the path of the goal scorers, but his direct running and his crossing ability led to both of them. But this is, early in the season, it felt like Coventry were maybe getting some results off the back of okay performances, and then we saw them kind of in between the 2 international breaks looking kind of untouchable. This was back to how it was early in the season, where I think they'll be very happy to have got the goal when they did to get ahead. Not necessarily deserved on the balance of play, albeit handy to have a keeper you can call upon when needed.
What a sport football is. Yes. Birmingham 2, Hull 3 was the sort of game that makes me think what a sport football is. What a game. And the end of Birmingham's 29-game unbeaten home record. It took some doing. It happened in some fashion. And it is this week's Sky Bet surprise, the biggest price odds of the weekend. Won at 7-2 by Hull City at Birmingham City. And the first thing to tell you, right, about this game is that James Beadle, the Blues goalkeeper, headed over the bar from 4 yards at 2-1 And there were still 2 goals after that, right? Which I think sums it up pretty well. Hull's first goal, it's a Jack Robinson own goal, but it's beautiful play from Ollie McBurney, not for the first time this season, setting up Kyle Joseph, his shot into the path of Jack Robinson, who kind of stumbled it into the goal. Jay Stansfield fired in a rebound for 1-1. He's showing good form at the moment, Stansfield, probably the standout Birmingham attacker right now in an attack that's been struggling a little bit recently, but finished nicely. But end of the first half, 2-1 Hull. Regan Slater with a beautifully placed header. Birmingham dominating the ball, dominating the territory as expected, but being picked off on the counter by this Hull City side who really are very, very exciting and dangerous going forward. Now, Jack Robinson, I mentioned, he scored the own goal for Hull's first. That's his 5th own goal since 2021-22 season, more than anyone else in that time. He also, on Saturday, became the first Championship player since 2019 to score an own goal and see red in the same game. The old Jonathan Woodgate Real Madrid debut. Robinson sent off for dissent here at 2-1 down. Not ideal at all. We had the Beadle header, as mentioned. What a moment that would have been at St Andrews, and instead it went the other way. Joe Gelhard finishing off on the counter-attack. 3-1 Hull. A late penalty, soft really, scored by Jay Stansfield, and the final score 3-2. So a kind of famous afternoon for Hull City in the context of their season so far. They really are very exciting going forward, and we saw that here. Even in kind of limited opportunities, they made the most of them, and they've been doing that all season. They've scored 2 or more in 6 of their 10 league games. They're very, very good at turning attacks into high-quality chances. They get opportunities from turnovers because they play forward quickly. They flood forward with numbers from midfield, the fullbacks as well. And they just play with their heads up. You can see they enjoy playing with each other. And I think the big orchestrator of that is Ollie McBurney, who is and has been a very, very worthy target man in his career so far. But it's so much more than that. He's such an intelligent player and an intelligent passer. We saw that in the first goal. He has 9 goals and assists in 9 starts this season. He didn't even get credited for one here because it ends up as an own goal. But he is just sensational. One of the signings of the season, no doubt about that. The other thing about Hull is that they're also a bit of a disaster defensively. That makes them great fun from a neutral standpoint. They've conceded 2 or more, as they did here, in 7 of their 10 league games. They concede loads of shots, loads of chances. The goalkeeper is kept very, very busy. And we get games like this where it's just so entertaining. Flip-flops one way and another. And at the end of it, Hull City come out as winners, very much backing up that Yorkshire Derby win against Sheffield United from before the break. George, let's talk Jack Robinson, though, because pretty rare to get a red card like this for just pure, unadulterated dissent. And yet, we both agreed that if there was one player in the Championship to receive such a red card, Jack Robinson probably would have been our first guess.
Yeah, fair to say Jack Robinson not particularly popular with Birmingham City fans right now. His second red card in 4 appearances. And I think quite a lot of them would be happy if he wasn't to feature again, and he's not going to feature now for 4 games off the back of this, because even though he was shown a yellow card for dissent just before the red card, it was a straight red, despite the fact that he was initially shown a yellow. After all that happened was that Leonard had a shot that he thought was deflected over, and it wasn't given a corner. And by complaining about that decision, Robinson has got himself sent off and banned for 4 games. The thing about this is that when Birmingham signed him at the end of the window, what words do you reckon were used in the recruitment room? I reckon like nous,
leader,
know-how, experience. Yeah. So for him to be doing this and showing just such a complete lack of nous is both ridiculous, but also not that surprising. And Birmingham City in particular should know about this because they played each other in the Carabao Cup early in the season, and Birmingham wiped the floor with blades. But after like 13 minutes, Robinson, when the ball got out for a throw-in, decided to kind of throw Kyogo to the floor in kind of petulance and was given a yellow card for that. And he seemed to almost take that yellow card as permission because it had just been booked, just to lose it. And he initially started shouting at the referee,
if you like.
Yeah.
Or carte jaune, as they probably say. I think he just assumed
I've been booked, so I'm not going to get booked again here, so let's go for it. So he screamed at the referee a bit, and then really audibly in the Sky Sports microphones told the lino to F off about 5 times. So he's obviously got a cop previous for this where, and I'm guessing what happened here is he saw the yellow card and he thought, great, I'm not going to get booked again here, so I'm just going to tell the ref exactly what I think about him as I walk past him, and he got a red card for it. It is so mindless. It's so stupid. It's going to make it incredibly difficult for him to win back the respect and support of his fellow, certainly of the supporters, I'd assume, of his manager, who called him out pretty happily, or unhappily, angrily, and his teammates too. So, for a Birmingham City side who need a bit of help to steady the ship after a good start and then a kind of disappointing run recently, in a performance that was not that bad at all, I wouldn't say. Like, I know they lost the game 3-2, but they were okay, especially from an attacking point of view, for much of the game, and had chances even when they were down to 10 men. It was a really heated game, like just before the Slater goal to make it 2-1, just before half-time. There was an incident in front of the dugout where Carl Joseph put in a very forceful, but I think fair tackle. I know Birmingham City fans definitely don't think it was fair. I think it's one of those where it might be some excessive force to an extent, but I think it's like a pretty well-timed tackle. And Birmingham players lose it and take out retribution on Joseph and take him out. And then there's a set two between the Hull dugout and the Birmingham dugout, with Jakirovic reportedly claiming that someone on the Birmingham dugout had told him to go back to Croatia. It's all pretty unsavoury. I should say that Chris Davis vehemently denies saying anything like that. But in that moment, you look to your senior pros for a bit of savvy, and instead, just a moment of absolute madness has destroyed it for them. It's probably no bad thing, maybe, that he is taken out of the fire, and the first team for the next 4 games, because Birmingham need to get back to what they were doing so well last season and so well early this season, and dominating games of football, dominating possession, and winning games of football, because right now it's spiralling.
1 win in 7 for Birmingham City. That was kind of the last thing they needed, returning from international break after a poor kind of period between the first and second international breaks. Work to do, chance to do it this midweek, of course, with a full slate of champ action. Norwich 0, Bristol City 1. Not a surprise to you, this, picking Bristol City as one of your best bets of the weekend on the betting show. They had to bide their time, didn't they, and then struck in the second half.
Yeah, exactly. But it was exactly what they deserved. Even though Norwich went close on a couple of occasions at 0-0 and forced a couple of good saves from Vitek. And I think Atkinson made one very good kind of last-ditch tackle. For the most part, it was Bristol City, especially in the second half, who dominated. They had 21 shots to Norwich's 11. They had by far the better chances. They did what is, I think Bristol City know is quite a good thing to do to Liam Manning teams, where they basically allowed them to have the ball quite far away from goal, which they did very little with. Norwich's good moments did come when they were able to win the ball back, when Bristol City came forward in attack and transition, which they still look quite good at doing. But even so, this was another pretty unacceptable performance in front of their home fans. It's 5 defeats in 5 now. It sounded like, because I mentioned on the betting show about the circumstances here around, obviously, Liam Manning not being particularly popular with Norwich fans at the moment, being very unpopular with Bristol City fans after walking out in the summer, but the added context of his son Theo dying a year ago within the week, basically, and the difficulty there in terms of how horrendous a time this must be for Manning. It sounded as if the majority of the anger from Norwich City fans was directed towards Ben Napper, which I guess should be no surprise, because since arriving at the club, there has been a quite obvious downward trend, and it maybe shouldn't be a surprise that he's the one who's being blamed for that, albeit I think most Norwich fans right now would be very happy to see a change in the dugout too. Bristol City, on the other hand, look to be the winners from the situation. Like, Gerhard Struber has come in and done a magnificent job. They're flying high in the league table. Their away form is magnificent. The underlying numbers are very strong. Everything about Bristol City here looks pretty good. And it was Mark Sykes who got the all-important goal. I'm pretty sure he's a character that would quite like scoring in big needle affairs. He's not someone to shy away from this kind of situation, and he finished well at the near post to make it 1-0 with 15 or so minutes to go, and Bristol City had another couple of opportunities to make it 2-0, which they couldn't quite take. So a fully deserving win for Bristol City. The scoreline might not be quite as significant in terms of the scale of the defeats that Norwich have had at home previously this season, in terms of shipping 3 goals to Wrexham in that 3-2 defeat, losing 2-1 to Borough. But again, it's their second half performances are really, really poor, and that was the case here. And as you said earlier in the show, a trip to Derby tomorrow night just feels, if you take out Sheffield Wednesday, there aren't many teams worse than those two right now. And both managers are absolutely desperate for something to happen.
I've got a long list of things that I like about you. On it, maybe near the top, but on it is how you say deserved instead of deserved. You say it, well, I would say on average 1.3 times a pod, 1.3 times per 90.
Yeah, I don't know.
By the way, per 90 really works as a metric for us because the pod is cool. Around 90 minutes long. Deserved. Yeah. I don't think
Does anyone else in the world say that?
Well, I sort of...
Is it just me?
It sounds like quite smart and quite sort of... it's got some heft behind it. It definitely sounds more hefty than deserved.
What's funny about that is that if I was talking about myself, right? If I hit a really good putt and it lipped out, I wouldn't say like, oh, I felt like I deserved that.
Well, no.
I'd say deserved.
No, but that's I deserved that is a different to that was deserved.
But it's
deserved.
But it's still the
one's
same.
An adjective, one's a vowel.
Same group of letters.
Yeah.
Mate, language. It's a crazy thing.
And if you wrote it, would you put like a maybe an accent on the e just to really make it clear?
I just heard someone called Ed talking about like deserved, and I've been like, that's obviously how you say it ever since.
That must be
deserved. I'm pretty sure it is right.
Yeah, a deserved home win, a deserved away win for Bristol City. Can you say the same for Millwall's win at QPR? Well, yes and no. It's sort of a classic away win. A classic breakdown of it. Their third away win of the season, a 3-win, 2-draw, no defeats record away from home is really strong on their travels for Millwall. The first home defeat of the season for QPR. So big scout this for Millwall. Into the top 6 as a result as well. Not much in the game, let's be honest. Certainly early on, Smallbone had gone close for Millwall. Smith had gone close for QPR. And then Billy Mitchell just dropped a ball in behind. You'd have thought Keeps might come and get it, but he decided to stay at home, old Nardi. And Aziz latched onto it, drew a smart save out of Nardi, and then scored the rebound. 1-0 Millwall, punch in the face, punch to the mouth of QPR. And then another knockout, really. Ivanovic with an instinctive header just before the break. They barely had any shots, but they were 2-0 up, and more just annoying defending from a QPR point of view, with the ball whipped in, flicking the head of Varane, going through a number of defensive bodies, and then straight onto the head of Ivanovic. So kind of shell-shocked at 2-0. They flew into life. They flew into life after some subs around the hour mark. Dembele and Saito and Burrell came on, and having basically looked pretty insipid before that, they then had 14 shots in the last 25 minutes, QPR. Only scored the one. Nice goal it was too. Dembele finding Saito, finding Burrell for a tap-in. And Burrell had a chance in injury time, but Millwall saw it out. So, deserved winners, in a way.
Whilst you've been doing that incredible bit of podcasting that I'll listen back to one day, I've been doing some research into this phenomenon. And it turns out
you can't call yourself a phenomenon, mate. Come on.
No, because it's not just me. But what I hadn't realised is this is a thing. There are loads of words where this happens, where the past tense verb and the adjective that end in ed change. So you've got like blessed and blessed, beloved and beloved, learned and learned.
That's what I was trying to tell you when you made the missing a putt reference.
Right, okay. But it means that from the looks of things, deserved is less set in stone, but I'm not the only person that says it. But a lot of people are asking if it's normal. Some people say yes, some people say no.
Thank you for that. That's good stuff. I'm really happy to see Billy Mitchell work his way back into the Millwall team. Like, for the uninitiated, for the NTT20 newcomers, you may not know that Billy Mitchell was once in our 21 under 21 list of EFL best players under 21. And that was because in the 21-22 season and the 22-23 season, he was a big part of Millwall's midfield as a youngster, a family of Millwall fans, breaking his way into the Millwall team. It was a good story, but he's also he was really impressive, particularly if you watch him live. That's the sort of central midfielder he is, where it's you are going to appreciate him most watching him live than you are watching either highlights or even on TV, and certainly not if you just go off the data. And he lost a bit of momentum in 23-24 and then missed the first half of last season through injury. Started to get back in near the end, but I must admit I wasn't sure if Mitchell would kind of maybe have to move on from Millwall in order to continue his career elsewhere. Certainly looks like Alex Neil is very keen on him, and he's back in the starting 11 and obviously got that assist for Aziz. An even game, not much between these two teams. To me, it just felt like a classic 25-26 championship game. Not much between the two teams. Could easily have been a 1-1 draw. Instead, one of the teams finished chances and the other didn't. 2-1 away win. Yeah, loads of winners over the championship weekend, George. Not least West Bromwich Albion beating high-flying PNE by 2-1.
Do you remember in the summer, one of the least likely stories that emerged was that Mikey Johnston was on his way from West Bromwich Albion to Flamengo.
Mm-hmm. And I remember it.
Seemingly
joining Josh Windass of Santos in the Brazilian league.
But reportedly the reason why MJ's move to Flamengo didn't work out was because the Flamengo fans were livid at the prospect of them signing him, a player they'd never heard much of, who'd been playing in the second tier of English football, and therefore the president or the board, however it works, of Flamengo pulled the plug on the deal, leaving him high and dry and devastated that his move to Brazil hadn't worked out. Well, I hope Flamengo fans, you're watching on Saturday afternoon, because I'm pretty sure you quite liked what you saw from Johnson, because he was absolutely brilliant all game. He scored clearly the best goal of the game, the opening goal of the game. Actually, I say that. Price's goal is pretty good too. But Johnson getting the ball on the left-hand side, cutting in as he does. I'm not entirely sure why Preston decided to kind of backpedal as a unit, but that's exactly what they did and gave him the time to pick out the top left-hand corner and fire it home. But he was brilliant all game. His ball carrying is very good. When he is good, he obviously burst onto the scene at West Brom because of scoring goals like this, which meant some, including myself, wondered if he might be a bit of a one-trick pony, but it's actually his ball carrying ability that kind of sets him apart, and it is just an added bonus that he can sometimes do this too. So that put them 1-0 up after Price had missed a couple of really good opportunities, Everson making a couple of smart saves, but you don't want to give that man Price too many chances. He scored the second just after the hour mark with a really well taken goal, kind of bending it into the top right hand corner. He's just so good. It feels like he is not going to be at this level for very long, I don't think. A really inspired piece of business, as we kind of say every time he plays well, from West Brom to bring him in. And one of the standout players, I would say, in the Championship so far. Michael Smith scored with 10 minutes or so to go with a kind of nicely taken goal to make it 2-1 off the bench. Preston weren't bad by any stretch either here, we should say. Osmajic missed a really good chance in the first half. He was put through 1-on-1 and Griffith saved well, showing his pace and behind again that can be such a good weapon. But Baggies, with those two bits of quality, were able to get ahead and then see the game out for the last 10 minutes or so. So an important win for them after after a good start and then a couple of poor performances. For Preston, it's been such a great start to the season. Very little in this to get overly concerned about, I would say. It was another decent performance. Ended up on the wrong side of a pretty tight game.
Stoke City 1, Wrexham 0. Takes Stoke to 18 points from their opening 10 games, only the second time in 20 seasons they've started this well in the EFL. I've no idea why I've just taken on the character of kind of bland, standard EFL voiceoverman, but I have.
It's been 10 years, mate.
I'm going to switch back to my particular form of nonsense. Two big moments in this one. Ryan Longman. Why the long face? Because he missed a big chance after 21 minutes. Kabore's shot was parried to him. Open net. And he put it just the wrong side of the post. Made to pay by Sorba Thomas, whose goal on the 36th minute was a cross that went all the way in. Now, I'm always fairly dismissive of goals that are crosses, but I think it's worth pointing out that he is easily the most likely Championship player to score a cross, because his crosses are absolutely deadly, and now he's playing on the left in particular, curling towards the goal. But yes, it was across. Sorba Thomas, regardless of whether he meant that goal or not, he's been among the best players in the league this season. There's no doubt about that. 4 goals, 4 assists, among the most goal contributions, particularly for a team who have got a good defence but aren't exactly cutting loose going forward. Like, incredibly valuable contributions as well. But George, what's the best ability?
Availability,
right? The most underrated ability for attacking players by miles, in my opinion. It shows physical capacity, it shows consistency, and it shows that you are going to be able to do your good attacking things as much as possible. Whereas a lot of eye-catching attacking players, you have a look and they're being dragged after 62 minutes because they're blowing a gasket. Not Sorba Thomas. He has started all 10 games. He has been subbed off only once, and that was in injury time. Like, those are just, it sounds stupid to say about like minutes and appearances, but to me those are like astounding numbers, like standout numbers, and show how impressive he is physically. He just looks like a completely new player to when we last saw him at this level, and it's so exciting. And he wins the game for Stoke, who are, a good team. Not an amazing team yet. Could they be a very good team? I think there's a chance they could be. I'm going to want to see a bit more. They're definitely more dependable than they are in previous seasons. They're definitely the best Stoke side we've seen for a while, and that's exciting. Best defence in the league in terms of goals conceded. Not best defence in the league in terms of XG against, but do they have the best shot stopper? Yes, they do. Victor Johansson is as good, if not better than ever. He has saved 3.5 goals above expected, and he's just an absolute animal. In fact, he is a cheat code, and I think that's a word that is overused by me, but I'm most confident using that phrase in football to talk about goalkeepers, because I think they are realistically the most likely position on the pitch to be essentially like cheating, to take your team's performance level, if you look at chances created and being given up, that is the individual that is most likely to basically make it look like you're cheating the game by doing better than you should be doing, if you like. So there you go. Love for Thomas, love for Johansson, love for Stoke so far. The fixture list says that they've played 7 teams in 16th and below so far, only 3 teams above that. But within that group, Southampton, Birmingham, Wrexham, not terrible teams, but it's true to say they haven't yet played many fellow high performers. The ones that they have, they lost narrowly to West Brom. They drew 0-0 at Borough, when probably the better side. So some encouraging signs from the games that they have played, but the matches will likely get a little harder. 3 of their next 5 before the international break are away from home, and the home games are against Cov and Bristol City, who are the 2 top away teams so far. So we will learn a lot about Stoke over the next 5 games, and I'm excited to do so. George, tell me about Oxford 1, Derby 0.
How long have you got?
2.5 minutes.
Right. This was good from Oxford. This was something we haven't seen that much under Rowett, where a lot of the wins have come kind of maybe against the grain, surprising wins. Bristol City this season, Sheffield United last season, Sunderland last season, and then it's the games against teams where they might expect to do okay, that it doesn't quite go so well, but this was not that at all. Oxford were by far the better team against Derby, dominated from start to finish. Zetterstrom was the best player on the pitch by some way, I would say, in terms of impacting how the game actually went. But Oxford's, from Jack Curry at left back, who was brilliant. Kieran Brown, who came and played 90 minutes, having not played a single minute this season after a long-term injury, was fantastic. De Keersmaker in midfield, controlling as ever. Nick Preletz came in up front for Oxford to replace Will Lancashire and was absolutely superb. An amazing combination of kind of physicality and pace, really. He's a big burly player who will kind of really take the physical fight to any centre back, but also is rapid and can cover ground. And he missed a couple of decent opportunities in the game, but created a couple too. Most of which were saved by Zetterstrom. The goal scorer was Stan Mills, who got a start. He's a player that I really like, a very old school, kind of genuine right winger. He'd missed a chance earlier in the game, which is again really well saved by Zetterstrom. He's put through 1-on-1. A brilliant ball from De Keersmaker. And I love the finish, because I think he basically saw a keeper that was saving everything and thought, you know what, I'm going to try something a bit different, and he kind of rolled it. He was down the right channel, rolled it into the near post, kind of curling it around Zetterstrom, which seems taken by surprise, and he found the back of the net. Really composed finish, very good finish. But as ever, I guess a nervy last 10, because Oxford had been unable to get the second, third goal they deserved, but Derby didn't really threaten, in all honesty. And yeah, I mean, a a good performance, good result for Oxford off the back of international break. For Derby, just got to be really concerned now. Got a bit of heat from Derby fans when I mentioned this a few weeks ago, when I said I wasn't really having a few of their, the better results. I wasn't really having the performances within those. I know that they are relatively hard to beat. Like, they were winless coming into this one since mid-September, but had drawn away at Wrexham, had drawn at home to Southampton and at home to Charlton, none of which are kind of bad results necessarily. But I would say that in basically all of those games, they are second best for the most part. And they just don't have any of the hallmarks you'd expect from a good John Eustace side. They were easy to cut through, individual errors, bad shape, and lacking any real cutting edge. So, yeah, right now I'd have Derby definitely flagged as a team in serious trouble unless they can find a way to improve.
And of course, Derby's famously low points total season in the Premier League. Danny Mills was part of that team, so for his son Stanley to score the winner against them, however many years later, just adding insult to low points return. Charlton beat Sheffield Wednesday 2-1. The first goal, Tyrese Campbell finding Sonny Carey, who had one shot that was saved, and then had the rebound that was scored. And it's been suggested on the NTT20 squad that Sonny Carey might be the best sort of cheap signing of the league so far. I think we've mentioned a few guys on the pod already, McBurney, Sorba Thomas, who are absolutely part of the conversation. But I definitely take the point. Carey has scored 3 goals, valuable goals, and for someone that wouldn't have probably been a big target of most Championship clubs, any Championship clubs, I think what's very clear is that Charlton signed a player with a very specific role in mind, and whose attributes fulfill that role very, very nicely. And that role is, as a number 8 in this Charlton side, don't touch the ball, Sonny Carey. Ideally, do not touch the ball, mate. In the defensive third, even in the middle third, let Coventry and Doherty touch the ball, if possible. But press like hell, counter-press like your life depends on it, tackle people, and then when we do have it, run forward as fast as you can, join the front line, get beyond them, or support them, and shoot, and get inside the box, and shoot, and get inside the box, and shoot. And it just fits Carey perfectly. It's really good recruitment. It's then great application by the manager as well, and it's working very, very well. And I think the way, that's kind of a reflection of the fact that Jones, the way that he has Carey and others executing their roles, is so powerful. It takes a team so far beyond names on paper, and that is probably a good distillation of that. Carey putting them ahead here. Reece Burke from a set piece for 2-0. Feels like Sheffield Wednesday basically just start 1-0 down every game just from set piece situations right now. Really struggling from that point. Did get one back through Jamal Lowe, and did put some pressure on as well until Ethan Horvath nailed Tanto Olafe and was sent off. So Horvath missing the next game. They have done what most people do in an emergency, George, and they are reportedly calling Joe Lumley. Can you be our emergency lone goalkeeper, Joe Lumley? And he says yes. Now, on the Sheffield Wednesday front, Rob Statton and Alex Miller were reported at the end of last week. Rob tweeted, "We believe the club owes HMRC £1 million and a winding up petition will be issued imminently." You were very keen to point out that was encouraging, even in such a difficult time.
Yeah, it's a strange thing for a fan base to be kind of almost celebrating a winding up petition. And there's obviously a lot of moving parts to this, but from what I can see, obviously the reports are that the issues in terms of selling Sheffield Wednesday is that Dejan Chansiri, his asking price of what he wants for the club is far beyond what the club is actually worth, and that means that any buyers that come to the table find it very difficult to negotiate a deal, amongst other obvious issues as well, which might be more down to character. The winding up petition effectively means that something has to give, right? So there is seemingly a reported tax bill that's owed somewhere between £750,000 to £1 million. Given what's going on at Sheffield Wednesday at the moment, it seems pretty unlikely that is a bill that's going to be easy to pay. If the bill isn't paid, then the winding up proceedings will start, and that is an absolute disaster for Dejan Chansiri, frankly. As a guy who wants to maximise what he can get out of a sale, surely that's something that just cannot happen. So what are the other ways out? Well, pay the bill, seems unlikely. Go into administration, which would end the impasse and hopefully start the process, albeit there's a massive points deduction, but would start the process for the club to be able to move on away from Chancery or sell. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, it feels, with these things, it feels like we've had so many false dawns with Wednesday over the last few months. I remember when we were sitting in Sheffield in our live show back in July, and there was rumours of lawyers NDAs being signed and stuff. Like with Sheffield Wednesday, it feels almost impossible that there's going to be a resolution. But hopefully that news in itself means it's impossible for this to drag on. And fingers crossed it goes the way that we want. And Wednesday can find a means to progress without Chancery being the owner of the football club.
Tell me about Sheffield United's first home win of the season, a 1-0 at home to Watford in Javi Gracia's first game in charge.
Just a lovely familiarity to this for Sheffield United. It was just reminding me a lot of last season, where it's like, hey, we're going to play against a team at home and we're just going to be like, you know what, if you want the ball, you just have it. That's fine. We don't care. We'll let you do like quite long periods of this game where you're going to look quite nice on the eye. You're going to be passing and moving. It's going to look okay. And then if you're going to have a shot, our keeper, Mike Cooper's going to save it. And then we're going to create a couple of opportunities and we're going to score one of them. And that's exactly how it went. Albeit I should say that the Blades, unlike some games last season where it was very marginal, Blades were deserving of their 3 points here. Dominated certainly chances in the first half, despite Watford having much more of the ball. McGuinness had a couple of efforts, both saved from set pieces, and then dangerous from set pieces throughout. And then in the second half, the goal came from Callum O'Hare. Some good work from him before a shot was saved and the ball was put back in by McCallum for O'Hare to divert over the line, on the line. Selvig made some kind of big saves throughout, and Watford, for all the possession, never really, to my mind, looked like scoring. I assume it was you who made the point on socials before that Javi Gracia had some kind of easy wins he could have played in his first game back in charge and decided just to ignore them.
His team sheet was, for want of a less annoying phrase, incredibly good banter. Because all he needed to do was start Kwadwo Bar. Ideally, drop Musa Sissoko. Certainly not play Musa Sissoko and Edu Kayambe, as well as two other central midfielders. Maybe Bar plus Vata or Bar plus Iran Kunda. Basically just to placate the fan base who raised all of those things as a big issue with Paolo Pezzolano, and instead he didn't. He played a sort of 4-2-2-2, of which the attacking midfielders were Sissoko and Kayembe, left Bar on the bench, along with Vata, with just Iran Kunda up top with Kerem Gard. So incredibly good banter, an angry fan base, a 1-0 defeat. Honeymoon period potentially over before he's even taken charge of a game at Vicarage Road. Leicester 1, Portsmouth 1. Saturday night fare, first half, one-way traffic. Leicester 13 shots to 1 and a 1-goal lead. A magnificent, instinctive, athletic finish from Ramsey. Nice assist from Fatawu. Yang did hit the bar with Portsmouth's only shot of the first half. His shooting's been really good recently and he almost scored a fantastic volley. And then in the second half, Pompey just showed sensational spirit and quality to drag themselves back into it. Getting a goal on the break, Yang finding Swift, him cutting inside, and then with Stolarczyk very keen to cover off the sort of curl into the far corner. Swift surprised him by whipping it into the near post. And after that, Leicester's threat just really died down. Portsmouth had a few opportunities. Leicester had a couple as well. I think overall 1-1, a very fair result and an impressive second half performance from Pompey on the road. Southampton 0, Swansea 0 was a match that happened. Was it a fair result? Well, Southampton are obviously being punished for some crimes committed in a former life or a former season. This is a quite hilarious sequence of not scoring big chances. XG models, various different ones, all have them around 3 expected goals generated here. None scored. 0-0.
It's just the craziest thing about this is that you've got Cameron Archer and Adam Armstrong up front. Like if you asked Championship fans to name the 2 most impressive finishers over the last kind of 3 or 4 seasons, they would both surely be in that conversation. And yet suddenly at the same time, neither of them can find the back of the net.
That'll do for the Championship.